Hello. Highway this week comes from the beautiful Isles of Scilly, otherwise known as the Fortunate Isles. Lying in the Atlantic just 28 miles from Land's End, famous for flower growing, usually mild winters, and pollution-free air. Just the place for our first hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. Scilly lies at the entrance to the English Channel and the Bristol Channel, straddling some of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. For sailors across the centuries, it's been the first and last sight of England, but a place to fear as well, where hundreds of ships are foundered. 3 lighthouses stand guard in the teeth of the Atlantic gales. The most famous and tallest in Britain is the Bishop Rock, completed in 1887 after an epic 40-year battle against the sea. The population of Scilly is just under 2,000. 5 of the islands are inhabited. This one, St. Mary's, is the biggest. And the others are St. Martin's, Tresco, Briar, and St. Agnes. But scattered all around them, over some 45 square miles of sea, are several hundred smaller islands, rocks and reefs. Every day, this ship, the Scilonian, links St. Mary's with Penzance, 40 miles away, bringing in essential supplies. There's a busy airport, too, with helicopters and fixed-wing planes to the mainland. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the first service to the islands. Flower growing is vital to the economy of Scilly. The usually mild winters mean they can be grown in the open and picked between November and April. Every year, about 50 million blooms are dispatched to the mainland. The biggest industry in the island is tourism, and the best way for visitors to see St. Mary's is by coach. It doesn't take long. There are only 9 miles of roads. Okay, Ron, let's go.
Righto. There's Vic himself, look. A lady who come here years ago, great friend of Vic's, Dame Flora Robson. He used to dance with her in the town hall when they were teenagers together, Dame Flora Robson. I've driven her several times.
At the wheel, driver Ronnie Perry spins a yarn.
I'll open her up a bit now.
It's a mobile gossip column.
We're doing a steady 22.
Good God.
Our top speed is 28. We like to have a bit in hand. Fields of daffodils, look. They flower in December, January, February and March. If you were here, good morning. Friendly people, Sir Harry. If you hadn't been aboard, they wouldn't have spoken to me. There's over 350 motorists on this island. They drive downstairs to breakfast, out of bed and behind the steering wheel is their motto. Some of them drive hundreds of yards at a time. They're all in a hurry going nowhere. There's nowhere to go. All the women drive. It's against their religion to reverse. Look at the traffic going down the one-way street, look.
Yes. Thanks for the conducted tour, Ronnie.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Sir Harry.
I'm going to go to Tresco Island. How do I get there?
Just go round the front of the coach, down past the Mermaid Pub. You'll pass it on the starboard side, and then you're at the start of the pier. Ask for Roy Duncan.
Roy Duncan.
Roy Duncan.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Right, so, and if you wish, you can stay on the boat, have a trip around the islands and see the seals, and you land on St Martin's Boat 11:15.
Most holidaymakers base themselves on St Mary's and then take trips to the off-islands. The boatmen, a bunch of salty characters, are Scilly's unofficial ambassadors. One of the skippers is Roy Duncan. At 38, he's the youngest ever chairman of the Council of the Isles of Scilly.
Much taller when they built the quay.
They must have been.
In the olden days,
Good morning.
they had longer legs.
How are you?
The Council of the Isles of Scilly covers all aspects of local government and we've got a number of committees. I'm chairman of the whole council, so all the committees, when they've met, and I usually sit on all of them as well, comes to the full council for the sort of rubber stamping, if you like. So that's the business side of it, and there's a lot of work involved in that. And of course, being a small community, we're fairly exposed, and people can talk to us quite easily. So often when I'm cycling around or even on the boat, people will come out and say, oh, what about such and such? No escape from it.
Yeah.
And then there's the sort of civic side, meeting people when they come over, attending odd functions, and sometimes having to go to the mainland to represent the islands at various things. So there's two aspects to it, really. But it is quite demanding. I'm just fortunate I've got an understanding family and somewhere to hide occasionally.
Well, you need that, don't you?
Oh, yes.
At least you can put out to sea, can't you?
That's right, yes, yes.
Who owns the island?
Well, the Duchy of Cornwall own most of it, apart from the town, Hugh Town, which is freehold, and one or two other little bits comes under the Duchy of Cornwall.
I know that you're a committed Christian. How does your faith help you in your work?
It's there, rather like we've got a lifeline on the boat. We know it's there if you need it. And it's also, I suppose, like a tool to be used. But, I started off, I suppose, nearly 20 years ago with a big splash. I felt like a child who discovered a new toy, got a new toy, a drum, and I wanted everyone to know about it. And of course, in a small community, you can only do so much of that, and after a while, it tends to wear off. So, whereas I started off fairly noisy and wanted everyone to know, now it is very much a personal thing, and I think I respect other people's views on the matter, and hopefully they respect mine. But certainly I get quite a degree of pressure at times with council business and the boat when the weather's bad or whatever. And with my family as well, that I know that there is God, Jesus, in the background, or present always, and it is essential. It's a lifeline.
Well, thanks for giving us your time, and thanks for the trip.
Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy your visit.
Thanks, Roy. Tresco is the second largest island in Scilly. In the 12th century, a priory was founded here by Benedictine monks, and the island was a place of pilgrimage for several hundred years. On a site above the priory ruins, there's a house called Tresco Abbey, built by Augustus Smith, a landowner from Hertfordshire, who moved here in 1834. He'd taken a lease on the Isles of Scilly and became Lord Proprietor. He was an autocratic but benevolent ruler who did much to combat the poverty widespread among islanders. Augustus Smith also created the beautiful Tresco Abbey Garden. It's a unique and famous collection of subtropical plants collected from all over the world. The head gardener is Mike Nelhams. Mike, how did Augustus Smith come to create this garden?
Well, he first came here in 1834, when he took over the islands as Lord Proprietor. He built a house just above the Abbey ruins here, and then found he could grow plants that were slightly tender and slightly harder to, easier to grow than on the mainland. So he built an acre of wall around this site and actually first started planting the gardens here.
And where did the plants come from then?
Well, originally he got some from Kew. William Hooker gave him some plants, and then a lot of people, I think, that he educated through the islands, ship's captains, that sort of thing, brought him back bits and pieces, and the interest stemmed from there, and then he really got into it and collected plants from all over the world.
So it is unique then. I said the introduction, it was a unique and famous place.
I think in Britain, yeah, it's the only place. Basically, all of our plants come from the southern hemisphere. Australia, Chile, South Africa, Canary Islands, places like that.
It's a tremendous collection, isn't it? But it was in jeopardy last year because you had a very unusually bad winter.
Well, in January, we experienced probably the worst winter in the garden's history, unfortunately. A lot of snow and cold weather. And we've had a certain amount of damage, but we're getting over it, and it's not such a bad thing. Perhaps gardeners that wouldn't have the courage to perhaps pull plants that have got a bit old out, the weather's done it for us, so we can replan and replant, and so we're looking forward to a hopeful future.
And a regenerated garden?
Oh, well, it's already doing it. Already we're going around looking at the plants that are resprouting.
A few moments ago, we heard the sound of a St Mary group called the Waytes, who specialised in 17th century music, played on instruments like the crumhorn and the cornemuse. We hear them now in a piece called Lady Roth's Mask. We heard about Augustus Smith earlier, and one of the things he did was to found the parish church 150 years ago. The rector here is the Reverend Peter Woodall. Peter, how big is your parish?
Well, the Isles of Scilly. The Isles of Scilly is my parish, yes. But on the 5 inhabited islands, I have 6 churches, which, St Mary's, of course, we have 2 churches on St Mary's, a church on St Agnes. This is going round the parish clockwise, yes. Not in order of necessarily seniority or presence. St Agnes, Briar, Tresco, and St Martin's. They each have a church, with the 2 here on St Mary's, making 6 in all.
Now, the main parish church is here, isn't it?
Yes, down at Hewtown. Yes, the bottom of the hill in Hewtown. That's the church under the dedication of St Mary the Virgin. Our church was built in 1837. It was designed and built by Augustus Smith from local stone. When he came here in 1834, one of the stipulations of his lease was that he should build a parish church, a new parish church.
What about the old parish church?
The old parish church, well, this goes back to at least Norman times. In the summer months, on Sunday evenings, we run an epilogue service at 8:15. And this is very popular with the visitors because at the end of a day, they're enjoying their holiday, having a lovely, peaceful time, and it seems to round off the day perfectly. Little epilogue service, a few hymns on the harmonium, some evening hymns, of course, and little Bible reading, a talk, and a few pertinent prayers, and we always finish kneeling, God be in my head, and somehow, with all the candles, the atmosphere is rather magical, I think.
Back to what it used to be.
I think probably back to what it used to be, yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter. St Mary's is a thriving choral society founded just after the war. And they're going to sing for us now a West Country folk song, Sweet Nightingale. The conductor is Len Michel.
My sweetheart, come along, don't you hear the sweet song? The sweet notes of the nightingale flow. Don't you hear the
And now meet Katie Thompson, 80 years old and still riding a bike. She's a lady with an infectious smile and a fund of stories about the way of life in Scilly. What was it like when you were a little girl here?
Well, it was really lovely. What we had, we didn't miss. We had horses and carts, donkeys and carts, and horses, traps. I mean, there were no motor cars on the island. There were no motorbikes. We had bicycles, but apart from that, it was quiet. There were no motorboats, of course, pleasure boats as there are now. They were just sailing.
So you made your own amusements as well?
We had oil lamps and candles to go to bed. And we had an old slab. You would see a replica in the museum kitchen.
Yeah.
And we cooked by that, or my mother cooked by that. And we were used to doing it the hard way, if you will.
Yeah. Well, how would you describe a typical Scillonian then?
A typical Scillonian is a hard worker, wouldn't get in debt, and would do a good turn for anybody, like a community. And it was like that in Old Town. It's still the same. But the Scillonians always has the initiative. They can always find a way of getting a living. Well, I mean, now it's visitors, and the visitors love the islands.
Well, they do.
And to me,
yep.
Scilly is home, and Scilly is perfect.
That's lovely.
Yes. I'm very proud to be a Scillonian.
Thank you. Boats like this are called gigs. 150 years ago, this one, and dozens of others like it, we used to take pirates out to guide sailing ships through Scilly's treacherous rocks. The first to reach a ship got the job, so crews raced each other and rivalry was intense. Today, gigs are still built here, and the tradition of racing goes on every Friday night in the summer. Now, with a sea shanty to row by, here's a group of local singers who call themselves Force 8.
Fills the air, the joy and laughter in our hearts is teeming. Row the boatman, row us on the sea, a steady hand, the splashing oar. The sky beneath the moon shall bring our home again to me once more. La 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Before modern navigational aids, it wasn't uncommon for there to be 3 shipwrecks a year in Scilly. In the face of such disaster, the islanders have a long and proud record of bravery. This year, the Isles of Scilly lifeboat, like the parish church, celebrates its 150th anniversary. And during that time, more than 500 lives have been saved. The present coxswain is Rodney Terry. It's important for people to know that all men who work in lifeboats are volunteers, aren't they?
Yes, they're all volunteers, yeah, all of them, yeah. We got a cross-section of the lads available,
yeah,
so that there is always some available to go, because we can run on call for 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So how many in the crew?
There's 7 actual crew members,
yeah,
but we've got a backup of 7 others. So it makes 14 in all, but to choose from.
Yeah. What's the average age of the crew?
Well, we got some young lads in their 20s, and some in their 30s, and some like me, which
because that is a new type of boat you got out there.
This is the Aaron class, yes, a new type. Twice as fast as the old boat, but there's some advantages and disadvantages. We still go off the slip in the old-fashioned way, in the small boat.
Yeah?
To board the Robert Edgar on the moorings.
What's the sort of average call-out you get?
Average? Well, last year was 14.
Was it?
Yeah, that was actual services rendered,
yeah,
which there are other call-outs which are not recorded if you don't render any service.
I see. Because there's never been a shortage of volunteers for lifeboat.
No, we've got plenty of volunteers around, but we've got a cross-section,
yeah,
you know, so that we can get anybody at any time.
Of course, when the call goes out, they're going to drop tools and
They just drop tools and everything, so yeah, gone. Yeah.
The president of the Ladies' Lifeboat Guild in Scilly is Lady Wilson, wife of the former Prime Minister, Harold Wilson. Lady Wilson, you've been coming here for years. What do you like about the place?
We've been coming here for 35 years. We just heard that it was very beautiful, and we came on holiday for about a week, and we decided we didn't want to go anywhere else. It was so beautiful, and so we've made our home here.
Now, you're going to read for us one of your own poems called The Lifeboat.
Yes, I should like to read The Lifeboat. I must point out, though, that I wrote this a little while ago, so some of the people are no longer with us, but the emotions are still the same, the anxiety as she goes out and the triumph and the joy when she comes back, if she saved lives or a ship and is safely back again. We hear the rocket from the slip. Fast, fast we run to watch them go. Here in the dark, we only know that Scilly Rock has claimed a ship. We see them as we cross the strand. The smiling boatmen from the quay, stern oilskin strangers seem to be, passing the ropes from hand to hand. Father Matt looks on with wistful face. He's had his share of risks and fears, coxswain or crew for 60 years, and now Boy Matt stands in his place. Now Dr. Bell climbs in the boat. The pulleys turn, the cables lift, into the water smooth and swift, one rush of spray, and she's afloat. Thank God there is no fog tonight, but tearing gale and streaming rain. No stars to guide her home again, only the steady harbour light. A bobbing cork beside the wreck. They cast a line to pull her in, half deafened by the tempest din which roars above the slippery deck. And we can only stand and pray, and as the chilly hours creep by, watch for the paling of the sky. How long it seems to wait for day. Is that her engine? Yes, at last. All's well, all's safe, we hear them shout. She edges in and comes about. Her journey done, her danger past.
The boy Matt, referred to by Lady Wilson in her poem Lifeboat, is Matt Lethbridge, who was coxswain of the lifeboat until 2 years ago. Both his father and his grandfather before him were also coxswains. How long did he serve the lifeboat then?
Well, properly from 1946 until
2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Well, the first trip I remember was when I was about, I remember going up to Plymouth with her that was on a refit job when I was about 12, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What does the RNLI mean to you?
I think it's meant a lot in respect that I suppose I felt quite a lot of people one way and another. And,
Been a way of life to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just something. I mean, I can remember when I was a boy waiting for the day, really, when you could go in the boat. And to be honest, I used to have secret ambitions that I might drive it one day. Yeah.
And you did?
Yeah, I did for a long time. Yeah. The funny thing was, I used to think that, and Dad used to always swear that we'd never go in the boat, and yet when it come the time, he really was, pleased to know I would take the boat. Like, he encouraged me to do it.
What's it like to be a Scillonian?
Well, it's good. But, I mean, you look here now, you've seen what you see today, haven't you? And, I mean, you just couldn't sort of buy that anywhere, could you, no matter what you had? I mean, the very early mornings is the time to come to Scilly. And to get up, sort of, summertime, 4:30 in the morning, and just wander around the shores or something. And it's really beautiful, you know, I mean, there's got no sound, you just hear the water lapping. You can actually smell the fresh air, you know, and the seaweed and the sea, and it's beautiful. When I used to come home on leave during the war, you got to the wharf and you were just leaning over the side trying to get the first, the
sight of it.
Yeah, the first sight of the islands, really. And it's like your own children, you know, I mean, it's just something that you can't describe, really.
And you wouldn't live anywhere else, would you?
Oh, no.
People come to these islands for peace and solitude, to get away from the pressures of mainland life. And what better place than this lovely old parish church to sing a hymn which is very much in the spirit of Scilly, Prayer Perfect.
Dear Lord, kind Lord, gracious Lord, I pray, Thou wilt look on all I love tenderly today, rid their hearts of weariness, scatter every care, down a wave of angel wings, winnowing the air. Dear Lord, kind Lord, gracious Lord, I pray, Thou wilt look on all I love tenderly today. Bring unto the sorrowing all release from pain. Let the lips of laughter overflow again, and with all the needy, oh, divide, I pray, this vast treasure of content that is mine today. Dear Lord, kind Lord, gracious Lord, I pray, Thou wilt look on all I love tenderly today.
Well, that's all from the Isles of Scilly. I take away a memory of beauty, peace, tranquility, and a hardy people who show not only a love of life, but a love of the fellow man. Next week, Highway goes to another island, this time an island with 3 legs, the Isle of Man. I'll see you then.